this press conference with a thank you to John Fox.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
You're listening to Rochester, Indiana's #1 podcast, the Tan and J-Man Show, featuring Josh Munt and Tanner Lee. You're listening to episode 112 of the Tan and J-Man Show, sponsored as always by Fraunfelter Dental Clinic, a great family-owned dental clinic that offers laser whitening and dentistry, along with braces, implants, your typical teeth cleanings. Go see Dr. Bill or Dr. DJ today for all your dental needs. Like them on Facebook and check out their website, stateoftheartsmile.com. What is going on, Tanner?
Not a whole lot, J-Man. It's another Monday, another episode. We are going to start tonight's episode off a little differently. Instead of starting off with Birdie, Bogey, or On This Day, we're still going to do those. We're going to do those later on, but as you well know, and a lot of our listeners know, we lost a good one this past week. Longtime Rochester teacher and head coach of the baseball team and the last 2 seasons of the football team, Brian Hooker, passed away at the young age of 59. He's one of those guys, if I could describe him as, first of all, he's one of my favorite guys to talk sports with. He was one of the funniest guys I ever knew. Could always make me laugh. You came away after having a conversation with Mr. Hooker always having a story. He was a great storyteller, and he was one of those guys who could always put a smile on your face no matter what mood you were in. And when I think about Rochester sports just in general, he's definitely one of the guys that comes straight to my mind. Pretty sure he bled black and gold. He was at about every sport, not every sporting event, but quite a few sporting events when he wasn't coaching baseball or middle school football for all those years, and then high school football for the last 2 years. But just a really good guy. And Josh, you played baseball for him in high school. What are some of the memories you have of Coach Hooker, and what was it like playing baseball for him?
Oh, he was a really good dude. He never really yelled at you too much. Of course, we shared that story about in the audio of him telling the story about me getting picked off second by the catcher, and he let me have it pretty good. But that was really the only time I can remember him getting overly upset or yelling. He was just a solid dude. I mean, we saw all the kind of memorials or all the stories people were sharing on social media. It's just kind of a testament to how good of a dude he was. As you said, great storyteller. I mean, even after we finished recording our podcast, he'd just be down here and talk sports for like half hour, and we just die in some of the stuff he was saying.
In stitches, really, man. He literally had me in stitches. Yeah. Hearing him talk about how to try to learn how to use social media was just hysterical. He was just one of the funnest guys to talk to, and what a great storyteller. And, you guys never won a sectional, did you, when you were there?
Not when I was there. I think he won 3 in 14 years, if I remember seeing that correctly. But actually, we did win one my freshman year. I
do remember that.
I wasn't dressing for varsity at the time, but they did win one when I was there.
I do remember that at the time. Now that you mentioned it, I remember going to a game or two, I think, that year of the in the sectional. But we do have some memories here that people have shared through social media of Coach Hooker. Travis Watering, who is the sponsor of the J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week. He's the Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent. He says his favorite Coach Hooker story, it was his senior year, middle of the baseball season. We had a home game, and I was up to bat with runners on first and second, 0 outs. We met halfway from the batter's box in third base. He goes, "I want you to bunt." I said, "Coach, I'll move them over." He let me hit. Unfortunately, he trusted me. Well, I swung away, and I struck out swinging. Later in that game, the exact same situation came up again. I started to walk towards him, and this time he shook his head at me and gave me the bunt sign.
It's a pretty good one. I have many memories of Hooker giving me the bunt sign and me not getting one down and him being pretty upset with me.
And then his daughter-in-law, Lori Atkinson, commented on our post and said, we have too many funny stories to count. He was an awesome stepdad to Jesse and a great father-in-law to me. But every football game that we took Alice, Harper, and Hannah to, at some point during a lull in the game, break in the game, he turned around and waved to them in the stands every single game. He loved his granddaughters, and they loved him. And I think that is a great testimony to what a kind of a guy Brian Hooker was. I mean, not only was he a good gym teacher, good coach, he was a good father, good stepfather, a good father-in-law, a good husband, good uncle, good friend, just all-around good guy. And I think yesterday's services and the amount of people that came to pay their respects kind of showed that. And, I've heard a saying one time, you can always tell about the impact somebody made by the attendance at their viewing or funeral.
Right.
And I think that definitely showed yesterday.
One story I wanted to share that's kind of funny. So Tanner and I are in weights class.
Yes.
Junior year of high school. And we were always partners every day. I think it was first semester we had. And, of course, Hooker was the gym teacher at the time, so he taught weights. And Tanner's, for the people that don't know Tanner, he at the time was probably 127 pounds. Would you say?
Don't weigh all that much more now, to be honest, but yeah.
And I was not. I was sitting there at about probably 205, and so I'm about 80 pounds heavier than Tanner. And I would lift the exact same amount of weight as Tanner every single day.
And
never added any more. And Coach Hooker gave me crap about it for, 10 years.
And the sad part about that was I was trying my hardest. I was trying to gain weight, and you were just being lazy.
At the same time, it probably wasn't very smart for me to do that blatantly in front of my high school baseball
Kind of
coach.
showed him your work ethic right there in the off season. Another good story of weights class was one time doing the squats on the machine of the squats. I'd been doing I think it was 245 pretty easily, and I'm feeling good about myself. I'm like, all right, Jay, man, I'm going to bump this thing up. I think it was this 275 or maybe even 300. I don't even know.
You put a ton on.
Stupid amount to go up. I'm feeling good about myself. And so I go down the squat, and little do I know my spotter, the J-man, he's not paying attention because he's writing his weight amount on the wall on his paper and not spotting me. I go down, and I remember go up, and I felt my legs going, help, crash. And Hooker came up, you all right? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just embarrassed.
Just shake his head.
A few other good stories I have. Senior year in high school, we're playing dodgeball. I took gym, regular gym, advanced gym, weights. That just shows you how much I liked taking Coach Hooker's class. But we're playing dodgeball, and in this type of dodgeball, I don't remember what type it was. You started off, you lined up all the dodgeballs on midcourt, and you ran from side. And a guy in Josh and I's grade named Nick Small was a good friend of mine in high school, and he was just talking trash to me, just from the other side of the court. Tanner, I'm gonna beat you to that ball. I'm gonna get you out. And just talking trash. I'm like, all right, Small, I'm gonna line up across from you. And Small's a pretty heavy guy. If you don't know him, pretty heavy built, and so Hooker says go, and we're in the farthest line right by him when he's watching. I take off, Smalls takes off. Smalls realizes he's not going to beat me, so Smalls tries the baseball slide, and he comes up, 10 feet short. And I grab the ball, and I look right over to Hooker. We make eye contact, and we both start busting up laughing. He has to turn around and laugh, and then I threw Smalls out on the ground. But that was one of my favorites. And then just, just the typical things. I'd go in. I worked senior year, first semester. I worked a good buddy of ours, Cameron Screeton, and I worked the attendance office for Mrs. Smoker. And so we'd go around class to class and get the absence reports or who was absent that day. And every time we'd walk in there, he'd want to talk sports with us while the guys were stretching. Hey, T. Lee, who do the Boilers got tonight? Just something like that. And he loved his sports, like I said, loved his Zebras, loved his Hoosiers, loved his Browns and Lions, and loved the Cardinals.
I got one more baseball story for you. So he had a rule. If you ever heard any of his players cussing, we had to run a lap around the out in the outfield and around the track on the baseball field. So we're playing. I think it was at Manchester junior year. Mark Bowers hits a shot, or I think we were actually in the field. So a guy hits a shot down the line, clearly foul, and the ump said fair ball, and Hooker immediately jumps out of his chair. That's bullshit. And then he turns around and does whoops, probably shouldn't have said that. And so the next day at practice, sure enough, Hooker's out there running a lap around the field. So
I've heard a lot of stories about his post-game speeches and stuff, and good times and bad times with the baseball teams.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty legendary ones, and definitely memories you'll never forget. My uncle, Nick Lee, sent in a few stories he had about growing up around the same age as Coach Hooker. He said, one of my earliest memories of Hook was the big hide-and-seek games in the neighborhood. Eric and I would stay with Grandma Warner, and after dinner we'd meet at Pat and Jimmy Evans' house for a big hide-and-seek game. Barney, that was their nickname for Mr. Hooker back in the day. Barney was judge and jury for the game. He made all the rules and reffed the game. Brent Evans, Pat, and Jimmy, Tim Snitz, Hook, Eric, and me were regulars. More kids would join over time. One rule I remembered was the no beef staking rule. This was a Hook's term. If you were a seeker, you could not hang around home base. We also played wiffle ball every day. Hook was the official statistician. He kept a daily run of all stats, homers, hits, batting average, etc. Our neighborhood baseball team was the JC Jets. He says, I'm sure you've heard stories about that team. It could be a whole segment by itself, which I really haven't heard that much. But Booby Clark, Goofy Collins, Dibble, Mike Hurt, and all the guys mentioned above, we had a full team with a bench. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And he mentions this, and I have heard stories from my dad about this. Hook was a legendary little league catcher. I played on a couple all-star teams with him. He was always a great competitor. He was also the most entertaining announcer at Little League and Senior League games. He had the crowd in stitches laughing so hard. He was also on the B1G softball team. We were a bunch of college kids playing in the Rochester Men's League. We traveled to many tournaments. And he says, I can't tell you some of the stories on the podcast, not meant for your younger audience. He says the last conversation he had with Hook was at the Moose. Brian Jennings and him talked over an hour about a Little League season in the 1970s. Hook remembered almost every game and was in who was on those teams from that year. So just the more testament to just the guy he was, and he's got to be missed.
Yep.
Very missed, and yeah, just a great guy. Glad I got to know him. Glad I got to take classes with him as he was the gym teacher. Never played for him. I remember him telling me when I was in Little League that I could be his future second baseman, but I chose the golf route instead. So,
made a major mistake.
So, yeah. But
you could have beat out Camo for that second base job.
Probably not. Cam played college baseball for a reason, and I didn't. So, yeah. So just I don't know what else to say about him that hasn't been said. Just a great man, and I'm going to miss him a good deal.
Yep.
All right. Got some Birdie Bogey?
Yeah. I hate full disclosure. I hate my question tonight. But North Dakota State claimed its FCS record, 7th title in the last 8 seasons. When looking across major college and pro sports, there are only 2 teams to win 7 titles in 8 years. Can you name both of those teams?
Wow, I got to think about this one.
I got a pretty good shot at it.
I'll probably have to have you repeat it because I kind of got confused a little bit.
It's kind of wordy.
But I'm going to let you handle the sponsorship this week for the Birdie Bogey.
The Birdie Bogey, as always, is sponsored by the Noble Gnome, which is a Tanner, you always have the spiel in front of you, and I do not.
I don't have any spiel. I've never had any spiel.
You've never had a spiel?
No, I just make it up every week.
So it's
not make it up.
Fresh.
It's organic garden, fresh market garden.
Produce.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I can remember from
it's
previous
that my cousin Bryce Romine and his wife Katie Romine own over in Mentone, Indiana.
He's got a greenhouse, I remember.
He's got greenhouses going up right now. Usually they're selling their produce at the Kosciuszko County Farmers Market, but right now there's no farmer market going on since January. But But follow them on Facebook and or like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter, Noble Gnome LLC, because they got a lot of exciting things coming up. That was their post last week. Was stay tuned for some exciting announcements coming shortly. So
We're gonna have to write this down for a future.
well, hopefully I can get him in here and
Right, that'd be
he can
great.
record something. But I know he literally. You think it? He can probably grow it. I mean, right now he's got kale, radishes, beets, lettuce, carrots, tomatoes. I mean, corn, all sorts of things.
I want an apple peach hybrid.
That's fruit, bro. He's vegetables.
I retract. I retract my statement. I want a let's see, what's kind of tomato corn hybrid. That'd be weird, but
What would you call it? A cornado
cornado. There you
or
go.
or torn?
Torn. I like the first one. you
Cornado.
said.
Yeah, but anyways, like the Noble Gnome on Facebook and follow them on Instagram. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff coming your way here in 2019 from the Noble Gnome. And we got On This Day coming up, but we got a sponsor for On This Day. The On This Day segment is brought to you by Spot On and John Mars. If your business takes credit cards, then you need to call John and let Spot On take care of your needs. Low rates, transparent pricing, free processing equipment, no special fees, no contracts, and John is your customer service representative. Time to be treated like you should, no matter your size. Call John at 574-835-1528 for a free quote today. Make your business run spot on. On this day, on January 7th, throughout sports history, we have here in 1961, the first NFL playoff bowl, which was the runner-up bowl, was between Coach Hooker's two favorite teams. Detroit beat Cleveland by a score of 17-16.
It's been pretty rough since then for both of those franchises.
And they must have known that we were going to talk about Coach Hooker tonight because there's a lot of events involving his Cleveland Browns on this day. On this day in 1963, the rift between Cleveland Browns owner Art Modell and head coach Paul Brown reaches a boiling point, and Paul Brown is fired.
Interesting.
Went on to coach the Cincinnati Bengals next.
And that's who
Brown
their
Stadium.
stadium is named after.
On this day in 1972, the Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Atlanta Hawks by a score of 134-90 for their 33rd straight win, the longest winning streak in major professional sports. I believe that still stands today, I believe. On this day in 1979, the AFC Championship was won by the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Houston Oilers at Three Rivers Stadium by a score of 34-5. On this day in 1979, the NFC Championship was won by the Dallas Cowboys over the Los Angeles Rams 28-0 in the LA Memorial Coliseum. Those two teams will meet this weekend.
At the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum.
You are correct. Let's see, what else do we have here? On this day in 1992, Tom Seaver and Raleigh Fingers were elected to baseball's Hall of Fame. Two pretty good ones there. On this day in 2007, Phil Jackson won his 900th game as a head coach, becoming the fastest coach to reach 900 career wins. On this day in 2008, the 10th BCS National Championship was played in the Louisiana Superdome and saw number 2 LSU beat number 1 Ohio State 38-24. Les Miles was the coach of the Tigers then.
It's the year Illinois went to the Rose Bowl.
And on this day in 2010, the 12th BCS National Championship was played in the Rose Bowl. Number 1, Alabama beat number 2, Texas, 37-21. That was Saban's first championship as head coach of the Crimson Tide.
Can you name the starting quarterback for Alabama that game?
Was it McElroy?
Yes, it was. Pretty sure it was.
I think the highest IQ test ever in NFL history, I believe.
Wonderlic.
Yeah, Wonderlic. And on this day, 2013, the 15th and my favorite BCS National Championship of all time was played at Sun Life Stadium when number 2 Alabama beat number 1 Notre Dame 42-14.
That was great.
And Monte Teo's girlfriend was not there to watch it because she didn't exist.
She didn't exist.
So that's
Catfish.
That is the On This Day segment brought to you in part by Spot On and John Mars.
That will bring us to the national championship tonight. Clemson Tigers against Alabama. What's the
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide. I read on Twitter, this is the farthest Clemson has played from their home stadium since 1990 when they played Duke in Japan.
That's incredible.
Out in Santa Clara, California, where the San
You think,
Francisco 49ers
how
play
good
tonight.
Clemson is, especially as of late, they would have opened up with a season opening game at USC or something. But
There's not that many great teams out on the West Coast now.
USC,
They went 5-7 this year.
they're coming. Look at the recruits they just got this weekend. They're coming.
They've had those recruits forever, those 5
They're
stars.
still a great name program, top 10 program.
Is it?
Name-wise, absolutely.
Is it?
Absolutely.
I don't agree.
All right.
They need to hire a better coach. I mean, Clay Helton seems like an okay guy, but I think they need a bigger name like I don't even know
Urban Meyer.
who could be. See, he's going to take a year off. Clay Helton's going to get fired, and then I could definitely see that.
Oregon's on the rise, too.
Right when Miami opened, I thought, ooh, maybe Urban would go down there, but
Nah, it was smart for him not to go down there. Manny Diaz from Temple. He was Temple's coach for about 2 weeks. But who do you like tonight, Alabama or Clemson? Alabama's a 5.5-point favorite. Our Twitter fans, followers like Alabama, but our Facebook fans like Clemson.
this will be the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week.
Dano, hold it a minute. I want to book this one.
The Alabama Crimson Tide will win tonight, and they will cover that 5.5-point spread. I just think their defense will be way too much for true freshman quarterback Trevor Lawrence. I do anticipate it being a good game, though, because Clemson has a great defense as well. I just don't know how Trevor Lawrence will face this just phenomenal secondary of Alabama.
And that is the J-Man's Book It Prediction Week, sponsored like it is every week by Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watring. Here's a little blurb from Travis himself.
Watring with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. I'm a multi-line agent specializing in life, home, renters, auto, business insurance, workers' compensation, and farm insurance. Please contact me at travis.watring@infb.com or 219-869-4561. And my business Twitter is @TTW_IFBI.
You're really trying to get 2 Bookets right in a row. He might even be on more roll than that. I haven't been paying attention. Last week he had Michigan over at Indiana.
I do not remember. The week before,
You were gone.
I was gone,
for a
but
long
I did a
time.
book it that the Big Ten would win the majority of their games. I'd have to go back and
Did they go 5-4? I think they went 5-4.
they did go 5-4. So J-Man 3 in a row. I don't remember what it was before that. I'm sure I got it wrong, but
I don't recall. I do not recall, but I like Alabama tonight as well. I think it will be a good game, so we're in agreement there. I'm looking forward to it. The last 2 national championships, last 2 years with Alabama have been good. If you remember right, Clemson beat them 2 years ago, so Clemson's looking for their second title in 3 years, but Alabama's looking to keep their dynasty going. They got a huge recruiting class coming in this weekend. I think they got like 23 to 24 guys are 4 stars, and the one guy that's not is the number 1 ranked kicker in the country. That's just, they're on a whole nother level. It's just unbelievable. But speaking of recruiting, both Illinois and Purdue have landed some good recruits as of late, but Illinois has landed it via transfer. You want to speak on that a little bit?
they've gotten 3 transfers. Sorry.
Lovey's not
coughing
going down
so much.
without a fight.
No, he has drastically improved their the talent on their roster. They have 3 guys coming in. The first guy that transferred in, Jeff Thomas, who was University of Miami's number 1 receiver this year. He has a case to potentially be eligible for this upcoming season. Just an explosive playmaker, led Miami in catches, yards, touchdowns as a true sophomore. I mean, their receiving core last year was one of the worst in the Power 5. He'll drastically help. Then comes in Luke Ford, who was the number 1 tight end in the country last year. In class of 2018, he was a top 50 player. He decides to transfer. His grandpa is ailing in Illinois, and so he has a case to be immediately eligible. I mean, he's a future NFL tight end. He's 6'7", 250 pounds. Has great hands, great blocker. He'll slide in as a tight end number 1. Then today they got a grad transfer from Oklahoma, A.D. Miller, who is a 6'4" wide receiver. He would have been Oklahoma's number 2 or 3 receiver this year, but then blew out his hamstring in week 1, so he redshirted, and now he is a grad transfer. Kind of a funny story. He was originally committed to Tim Beckman in Illinois back 4 years ago, and he was committed for 6 or 7 months and then flipped his commitment to Oklahoma near signing day. But now he's coming back and he's going to play at Illinois 1 year, and that gives them 2 legitimate options at wide receiver next year.
So I'm guessing the only reason you're talking about Illinois football is because Holgorsen left your Mountaineers. So
That's
now
the
you're
only
back,
reason.
Now you're
Yeah.
back on the bandwagon.
I'm back on the Illinois bandwagon.
Makes sense.
If they win less than 7 games this year, it'll be a disappointment, in my opinion.
You already called it last week. That was your bold prediction for 2019.
That is my
Was
bold
Illinois would
prediction.
go bowling. Then earlier in the episode, you did say something about 7 wins. So.
I did.
So, yeah, Purdue football got 2 good pieces of news over the weekend. First of all, Saturday they had a 4-star wide receiver, David Bell from Warren Central, commits over Iowa, Indiana, Penn State, and Ohio State. It was a long time speculated that he was going to choose Purdue. The only thing that was kind of up in the air was the whole Jeff Brom situation. But right when Brom announced he was staying at Purdue, everybody kind of thought David Bell would be coming. So now he is, and he already signed. He signed on in December, and they kept it on the down low, which is pretty impressive nowadays with social media. I mean, I guess the only people who would have known that would be inside that Purdue football complex. So if it would have leaked out, somebody probably would have gotten a lot of trouble. But David Bell, now with getting him, they got the top 2 recruits in the state of Indiana for the class of 2019, George Karlaftis and David Bell. And they have 4 4-star wide receivers now coming into Purdue, which has never been done before in the history of Purdue football. So Elijah Sindelar, assuming he's going to be the starter next year, is going to have some options to play with. He's got, of course, a guy named Rondell Moore coming back. And then he's also got Jared Sparks, who's a 2-year starter. Jackson Anthrop's kind of a reserve now. Bryson Hopkins will be a senior tight end next year. Then you got some guys that redshirted this year as freshmen, Ahmad Anderson, Corey Taylor, and then
The lead singer of Slipknot.
Yeah, a little different. And then he's got 2 3-star tight ends coming in next year. And then he's got these 4 4-star wide receivers in David Bell, Marshawn Wright, or Milton Wright, Marshawn Rice, and TJ Sheffield. So, yeah, Purdue's going to have some weapons, and I'm going to go out and say they're going to have the best passing attack in the Big Ten and one of the best passing attacks in the nation next year. But they do have to get their offensive line fixed, because no matter how many good weapons you have, it doesn't really matter if you don't have time to get the ball to them. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I think going back to last year when, and I'm talking about 2017, not 18, when we saw a rotation of Blau and Sindelar, I think Brom really wanted to play Sindelar more than Blau, but he realized Sindelar didn't have the best weapons around him to make him successful, and Blau could do more with his feet than Sindelar could. So I think that's the reason we saw Blau play so much 2017 over Sindelar, but now Sindelar's got the tools around him, and I'm really excited already for August 31st when the Boilers open up at Nevada. And Purdue got good news on the defensive side of the ball. Senior linebacker Marcus Bailey, their best defensive player, is coming back next year for his 5th year, so he's not going early to the pros. Good news for Purdue. I think they will return 9 of their 11 starters on defense, besides Antonio Blackman and Jacob Thieneman. That could also be maybe bad news, too, because the defense did struggle at times. But they'll be a year older next year, have a year more under their belt of chemistry, and they have a pretty good, solid defensive class coming in on paper, led by George Karlaftis. So exciting times for both Purdue and Illinois. And really, like we talked about off the air over the weekend, the Big Ten West is coming.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's improving fast. They still might not have the juggernauts that the East have up top, but overall, it's better than the East overall.
Far deeper.
I mean, Iowa won it this year. No, Northwestern won it this year. They should be good again next year. They get a new quarterback.
5-star, top 5 player in the country.
That doesn't hurt.
In. Yep.
Iowa's solid pretty much every year. Wisconsin solid pretty much every year, but they had a down year this year. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back next year. But they have one of the Army or the Adidas All-American quarterbacks of the East. He's going there next year. They got Jonathan Taylor, who's going to be one of the Heisman favorites next year.
Minnesota was super young, and they played good football at the end of the year.
Very
Made a
good
bowl,
football.
Have some momentum.
They got momentum. Illinois is coming. Purdue's coming off back-to-back
Nebraska.
bowls. And Nebraska's definitely coming. We all know that. I mean, they got, what's his name? Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
This is going to be a sophomore. They got Wandale Robinson, who's a 4-star. He played in the All-American game over the weekend. He reminds me a lot of Rondale Moore.
I will make a book prediction for the season.
Okay.
Every Big Ten West team will make a bowl this year.
Yeah, I could see it. That's that's a bold prediction. Definitely, having, what is it? How many? 7 teams?
7.
Because then the East, you would think they're going to have a couple. But like I also mentioned to you, if Harbaugh doesn't win the East next year for Michigan, when's he going to do it?
Never.
Because Ohio State's in a transition period with Ryan Day. I still expect them to be very good, but new coach, new quarterback, as Dwayne Haskins announced today, he's going pro. He'll be the first quarterback taken in the first round, you would think, from the Big Ten since Kerry Collins in 1995
That's
out of Penn
incredible.
State. Drew Brees was first pick in the second round, but think about the other good quarterbacks in the Big Ten. They weren't even really close going in the first round. So you think they're going to transition. Penn State's got a great class coming in, but they lost McSorley, who's a once-in-a-decade quarterback. Michigan State can't score a football. And then Indiana's hasn't made didn't make a bowl this year or last year, and they're getting a new offensive coordinator there, so we'll have to see what happens there. Rutgers is terrible. And then Maryland's coming, but it's going to take them a little while. But Maryland's going to lock up the D.C. area in recruiting for sure. So I think the Big Ten's got bright days ahead. Now, is it really going to matter with Alabama? Probably not, but you never know. You never know. You can only start to go up, and that's all you can ask for. So let's stick with college sports. Let's talk some college basketball, and then we'll talk some playoff football. But Big Ten season's underway again. Tough loss for your line yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost.
At Northwestern.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to say about it. They got a huge commitment yesterday.
That's a good way to spin it.
Yeah, there you go. It made the loss sting a little less. He's a 5-star center from one of the premier high school basketball schools in the nation, Oak Hill Academy, which I believe is in Virginia. His name is kind of unfortunate. It's Kofi Cockburn. I think it's pronounced Cockburn, but I've actually never heard anyone pronounce it. So,
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's spelled just like Cockburn. So that's kind of unfortunate.
Oh, the student section. That'd be awful.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But anyway, he is just a massive human being. He's 6'10", 280 pounds, elite rebounder. I think basketball's just find its way into his gravitational pull. He's just a great rebounder. Really good hands. Powerful finisher. I will go on record and say he breaks at least one backboard next year.
That's a pretty bold statement.
I know.
Are hard to break.
They're hard to break. This dude is monstrous, and he throws it down with authority. He is planning on being a one and done. So hopefully they can win with him next year.
Just want to get him signed.
Right. Which I don't know when the other signing day is. I think it's April for basketball and that. But he will definitely help because this Illinois team is dead last in the Big Ten in 300, I think 14th in the country in defensive rebounding percentage, and it came back to kill them yesterday, giving up an offensive rebound and a kick-out three.
You knew that was going in.
Oh, definitely, with 10 seconds left to give Northwestern a win, so he'll definitely help with that, and he could be bringing some of his buddies with him, which they sorely need. Brad Underwood needs to go out there and get a guy that can score the basketball.
Yeah, I'm looking. Illinois was 0 for 11 from behind the arc yesterday.
Yeah,
it's not ideal.
No, they didn't shoot many because they usually can't score unless they're draining threes. Trent Frazier didn't shoot the ball well. Io Dosunmu has been phenomenal his past 3 games.
18 points, 5 boards, 2 assists yesterday.
Yeah, it's really encouraging because their top 3 players are a sophomore and 2 freshmen, so that makes you feel pretty good going in. And their best lineup has 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen, and a pretty inconsistent redshirt juniors. So they're third youngest team in the Big Ten, but probably dead last in experience. So I feel they're sitting here at 4-11. They've had a brutal.
Is that the worst
schedule.
start?
Ever. I can't imagine one worse. But I'm still not feeling too bad about them because get some guys coming in. Io DeSumo becomes a sophomore. Trent Frazier becomes a junior. Georgie Bichonchivili, who would probably redshirted on most Big Ten teams. He's playing some good basketball there at the 5, so I feel pretty good about the way they're heading.
I think Coach Joel Burse's tweet got in your head a little bit. He tweeted at you yesterday.
He did? I didn't see it. Is his account private?
I don't know, but he pretty much told you not to worry that Illinois come year 4, they're going to be really good. They got a great coach. They play tough defense, got a lot of young talent.
See, his
well, let me go. I'll find it word for word.
His account must be private because I saw I had a reply, but there wasn't a reply
Well, you better follow him
on
back.
my tweet. I didn't know he followed me, to be honest.
He follows 10 J-Man shows. Of course he follows the J-Man. So, but it is, I was looking at your Twitter yesterday, and you said you were numb. Yep. You were numb compared, or you were numb. You were what'd you say?
I said I'm numb to Illinois basketball losses anymore, and I really am. Yesterday, I only got really upset once because they had a shot clock violation late. But other than that, I mean, that loss yesterday would have taken me days to get over, just even 4 or 5 years ago.
Really, you had a bad week for your own personal sake because you lost the 2 teams you hate losing
both,
to.
Yeah. They played pretty well in both of them. So, and at this point, when you're 4-11, you don't care as much about wins and losses. You just want to see them improve. And it feels like they're playing a lot better than they did just a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So.
Purdue got a much-needed win over Iowa at home on Thursday, 86-70, and really the score was closer than the game really entailed. Carson Edwards led the way with 21 points. Purdue shot the ball really, really well. I think they ended up with 53%. But Iowa shot 48%, so it wasn't like they were awful. But Purdue hit 11 of 12 free throws. That was big.
Threes.
9 for 24. Iowa 6 for 17. So 35 and 38%. Purdue only had 7 turnovers. Iowa had 14. That's a big in there. Matt Garza didn't play for Iowa, but I don't know if he would have mattered that much. It was Tyler Trent night, in remembrance of Tyler Trent, who the former Purdue student who passed away last week from cancer. Pretty incredible kid, incredible story. Once again, taught everybody the right way to live life, and pretty inspirational young man. So Iowa was walking into a hostile environment even without the students there, and Mackey showed its strength, that's for sure. But now it's a tough week for Purdue. We're going to find out a lot about this Purdue team, but 2 great opportunities to get good quality road wins for the NCAA tournament resume. They're up at East Lansing tomorrow night, take on the number 6 Michigan State Spartans, who are 8.5-point favorites. Then travel to a tough place to play usually, historically, but Purdue's had good luck up there at the Kohl Center at Wisconsin. That's a 9 o'clock rare Friday night game. Wisconsin's 6-1 at home. Purdue's 0-3 on the road. So Purdue's won 3 straight, and Wisconsin's coming off a win yesterday against Penn State. So, and Indiana Hoosiers lost at Michigan yesterday. They traveled to Maryland on Friday. That's the only game they play this week. But what are your thoughts on the Big Ten so far?
I think obviously Michigan's probably head and shoulders above the rest. Michigan State's
Michigan
obviously
State's right there.
Yeah, they're right there as well. But after those top 2, it's kind of all jumbled up.
It is.
You have good teams like
I think
Nebraska.
Ohio State's the 3rd.
I'd probably say right now Ohio State's the 3rd, which I think they're way ahead of schedule. Chris Holtman's doing an unbelievable job there because most people thought losing Keita Bates-Diop and Jayshawn Tate that they just weren't, and of course the superstar Andrew Dockich, they just weren't going to be good this year. But here they are, top 20 team in the country at the moment. And after that, it's a big old jumbled mess because really from probably 11 to 5, you could make a case for any of them.
I think Nebraska's this boy there have 3 conference losses.
Right, and so does Iowa. Iowa's 1-3.
And listen to Wisconsin or Nebraska's upcoming schedule. I mean, if they don't, Penn State at home should win that. Then they're at Indiana, Michigan State at home, at Rutgers, Ohio State at home, and Wisconsin at home.
They have a lot of those at home, which really helps.
They do have 3 of them
because that's
at home.
a tough place to play. To play.
Then in February they go at Illinois, at Purdue, at Penn State, at Michigan State in March.
That's a tough.
This
February.
is a team. If they don't make tournament, Miles is gone.
No shot.
Gone. If they don't make the tournament, he's gone.
No shot.
Yep.
They've never cared about basketball at Nebraska.
He's on a hot
this
seat
is
coming
by
into this
far at least in our lifetimes, their greatest stretch of basketball they've had since Tim Miles has been there. It's a talented team, and they should make the tournament. But there's no way they fire him.
All right.
No
I
way.
think they'll make the tournament, so we're not going to worry about
It'd be
But
so idiotic because you fire him and you go back to winning 10 games, 12 games a season.
I just wouldn't be surprised.
It'd be idiotic. Same with Iowa and Fran McCaffrey.
They're not going to do it because his son's coming up soon. His younger son who's better than the son he's got right now.
That shouldn't be an excuse to keep a guy, though.
They will.
I'm not
But,
saying they
yeah.
will fire him, but
Yeah, but I thought Fran should be on the hot seat the last 2 years.
right.
I think a lot of these Big Ten coaches
I
are
mean-
getting too long leash. None of them. There's no turnover right now in the Big Ten.
Pat Chambers.
Pat Chambers probably gone.
Especially after the incident pushing his player the
Yeah.
other night where he was suspended. That should have been the last
I mean,
straw.
I think there's a lot of Big Ten coaches that should be on the hot seat. But yeah, Tim Miles is one. What?
Who?
I mean, maybe not right now, but if they miss the tourney this year, you got to start thinking about it. I mean, Patino Jr.
I just don't like him.
Probably
so
not
I prefer-
Collins because he got Northwestern their first tournament, but he's underachieving.
Maybe he could be a guy that goes out to UCLA.
Yeah, Earl Watson. Watch for Earl Watson, old Suns coach, and he played for
Former
UCLA.
alumni.
Alumni's pushing for Slick Rick Pitino, though. Saw an
I could
article
see
the other
that
day.
happening,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, all the other Big Ten coaches, I guess, are pretty safe. Greg Gard, maybe if he missed the tournament, maybe get some heat.
He could.
I don't know.
That'd just be 2 years in a row, but after making it for 17 in a row or whatever they did.
Yeah. Would it be 2 years in a row or 3 out of the last 4?
No, last year was their first year in forever not making it. Because remember when
The
he
year
took
he took
over?
over, they made it. They ended up making it that year?
Yeah, because they were so bad with Bo, and then he retired, and Gard got him playing really well, and they ended up sneaking in. Remember they got were they a 10 seed and beat
Villanova.
Xavier 1 year? Remember they had a buzzer beater against Xavier?
Was it Xavier? I thought it was Villanova they beat.
It might have been that year.
It was the 8-9.
Yeah.
Villanova was a 1 seed
But there was a year they were
2 years ago.
I think they were a 7 seed when Bronson Koenig hit that 3 against Xavier to beat them.
Yeah, because then Notre Dame beat them.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame was lucky to beat them in the Sweet 16.
Sorry.
They all jumble up. You watch so much Big Ten basketball over the years, you kind of get confused on what year, what happens in what year. So, but other than that, I have not watched a lot of college basketball this year. I know.
Still having a hard time getting into it.
I know Butler. It probably doesn't help when your team's got 4 wins. No
Yeah,
but,
it doesn't help.
I know Butler got a win over Creighton this weekend. A much needed win for them. Notre Dame's continuing to struggle. They're going to struggle the rest of the year. I mean, they're without their best player.
Butler did just have a bad loss at home to Georgetown.
Yeah,
Georgetown's not bad.
They got
but
that bounce back win at Creighton at home. They really needed. But I don't know what they're. I'll pull up their games here to see who they got coming up. But like I said, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's done without
Pfluger.
Puff Pfluger.
Notre Dame this week has Boston College at home on Thursday, and then
That's not a gimme.
they're at North Carolina next week,
That's a loss.
next Tuesday. So, yeah, not good for Notre Dame. That's not going to be a good loss for Purdue by any means.
Purdue. Oh, the Notre Dame.
Butler goes to Seton Hall Wednesday night, and then to Xavier on Sunday. So, 2 tough road games for the Bulldogs this week.
If I could never hear about Butler again, I'd be so happy.
We got some Butler people who listen to this, so
I hope it pissed them off.
you probably did. You're always on the fan base's bad side.
Butler fans are really kind of mean compared to other fan bases for whatever reason.
Well,
They're very defensive.
made back-to-back championship games and still don't really get talked about like the other big-time state schools. So that's probably why they're a little angry.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of them, honestly.
I mean, when you're in the Horizon League for that long, you're not going to get as much respect. I know they're in the Big East now, but
they were in Horizon in the A-10.
yeah.
I'm jealous of them. I mean, they made back-to-back championships. That's pretty impressive.
A long time ago now.
Yep. I'd still take it. But, all right, ready to talk some NFL football? We had a really exciting weekend of playoff games.
There was really only one good game.
I thought there was 3 good games.
Really?
I thought Seattle-Dallas was pretty good.
I don't remember.
Came down
much
towards
of
the
that
end. Dallas won by 2 points.
one. Did it?
Yeah,
Huh.
24-22.
Where was I? Oh, that's right. They didn't get the 2-point convert, or they
Got
went
the
for
2.
2, and then didn't get the. It was the worst onside kick I've ever seen in
kicked
my
like
life.
30 yards downfield because Janikowski blew out his hamstring right before.
He drop kicked it, didn't he? That's exactly what he did.
Yeah. So, but start off on Saturday. The early game saw the Colts go into Houston and win 21-7. So there goes my preseason AFC champion pick and the Houston Texans. I should have known better. The Texans suck in the playoffs. Deshaun Watson was
He looked terrible.
awful. He looked really bad. He ended up with a stat line of 29 for 49 for 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, sacked 3 times. They just were not good. The Colts shut Hopkins down, 5 catches for 37 yards. The Colts kind of got on them early and then kind of let up a little bit in the second half. But it didn't matter when you get 148 yards out of Marlon Mack. That just everything else.
They finally
icing on
found
the
a
cake.
running game.
I mean, they found a running game. T.Y. had a nice game against the Texans like he always does. Luck played fairly well. Didn't take any sacks. I think this team has only gave up, I want to say, 8 sacks in the last 12 games.
It's incredible.
I mean, they've come so far in the last few years. Ballard, hats off to him. He's drafted well. Now they got a tough one this weekend at the 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs, who had the week off. Pat Mahomes, that flying offense. It's going to be interesting. This is, I think, the highest. I think this is the most combined touchdowns out of 2 quarterbacks meeting all time in the playoffs.
Well, when
From the
Mahomes
regular
has
season.
50,
And
that
Luck had
helps. 30,
39.
Did he have
I
39?
think he had 39, so that's 89.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
touchdowns.
so-
It'll be a high-scoring game.
It will.
I think, did Kansas City lead the NFL in sacks this year? They had over 50. They had 3 guys with 9 or more. Chris Jones had 13. D Ford had 14, and I think Justin Houston had 9. So Luck will get hit a little bit more this week. Now, of course, Houston has a great pass rush, too, with J.J. and Clowney, and they shut it down pretty good. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, something like 41-38. I haven't decided who's going to win yet, though. I think it'll be a very good game, come down to the wire, maybe even the last-second field goal. And I'd give the edge to the Colts on that one just because of the GOAT, 46-year-old Adam Vinatieri. What are you looking up?
I'm looking up sacks.
Like team sacks?
Yeah.
They had, I want to say, 52 as a team, Kansas City. Pat Mahomes doesn't get sacked very often either because he gets rid of the ball so quick. But he could have some playoff jitters. First time ever, obviously, playing in the playoffs. They are without Kareem Hunt for the past few weeks. It'll be an interesting matchup.
They were tied with the Steelers at 52.
52. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, good pass rush, a good offensive line. Even Damian Williams and who's their other running back that's been there forever? 34. Is it 34?
Who are you talking about?
Spencer Ware.
Yeah.
Is he hurt though? He was hurt.
I don't know if he's back or not.
So they still have a good run game, and obviously Tyreek Hill's one of the better receivers in the NFL. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the NFL. So it'll be high scoring, 41-38. Give me the Chiefs just because it's at Arrowhead.
Yeah, these two teams have some history in the playoffs. I remember Peyton Manning led Colts win in 2003 when Kansas City had the highest scoring offense in the NFL, and they beat them. And then a few years ago, Andrew Luck had that huge comeback. They were down, it seemed like 100 points, and came back and won, I think, 45-44 in Lucas Oil. I've been thinking about this one a lot, and this shouldn't come to surprise to people who listen to this. It's not because I don't like Kansas City, which
exactly
I despise them. I have said for weeks, this Colts team's dangerous. If they can find a way to get to Mahomes, I think they score enough on defense score enough on the Kansas City defense to make a difference. I think the Colts pull out a squeaker. I like the score you said, but flip-flop it.
I will say, if Colts win this week, I think they go to the Super Bowl. I think they win in Los Angeles or in New England.
I don't think they can win in New England. I think they can win in Los Angeles. I just don't think they can. I don't think Luck can beat Brady. I don't know, some voodoo crap going on there or what. But moving on to the second game on Saturday, saw the Cowboys beat the Seahawks. First time the Cowboys won a playoff game, what seems like forever. So get used to hearing America's team. And how about them? Cowboys, they held off the Seahawks 24-22. And now Dallas is heading to L.A.
This Dallas team's dangerous. They have a really good defense. DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. They have a good secondary. Ezekiel Elliott, they can just pound him give him 40 touches. 40 touches. Dak Prescott, all he has to do is not turn the ball over.
Amari Cooper's been a godsend.
He's been great. Raiders gave him up for practically nothing.
Good job, John.
First round pick. They get first round pick, I guess. But I mean, obviously Todd Gurley's going to be back. Rams are out to prove something because they got beat last year. I don't remember who they got beat by, but it was round 1.
It was Atlanta.
They hosted. Okay, I didn't even realize Atlanta went to the postseason.
I think it was Atlanta. I feel like it was Atlanta.
I think Jared Goff plays well, and Todd Gurley has 3 touchdowns. I'm going to say he runs for 2 and catches 1. And,
who's been big?
Rams win 34-21.
Who's been big for the Rams last couple weeks in the absence of Todd Gurley's been C.J. Anderson.
He's averaging like 7 yards a carry.
Yeah, the Rams lost to the Falcons last year, 26-13. In the first round. I
remember the Rams played
Then the Eagles
bad.
won an ugly game over the Falcons 15-10.
Yes.
And then they destroyed the Vikings 38-7. So, this is a tough one for me to predict, but I think the Rams won a close one. I don't think this is going to be the best football game we've ever seen. It's going to kind of be like the Seahawks-Dallas one was. But I like the Rams in a close one here. Goff makes enough plays down the stretch to get it done. Then the early game on Sunday sees the LA Chargers, who hung on to beat the Ravens yesterday 23-17. They really dominated the game, but about found a way to lose. They traveled to New England to face Tom Brady. Tom Brady's 7-0 all-time against Phillip Rivers.
Chargers, really the past 3 weeks haven't played great. I mean, they played good against the Ravens and winning the first one. But I think the Chargers are the most complete team in the NFL. Running game, offensive line.
I think they're better than the Saints.
In the AFC,
okay.
I mean.
I was just curious. I wasn't trying to be.
I meant AFC.
Okay.
I think Chargers go in there and Phillip finally beats Thomas Edward Patrick Brady or whatever.
So you think we'll get a rematch of that crazy game in Arrowhead a few weeks ago for the AFC Championship?
I do.
That makes me want to puke. Oh my god!
I can't wait.
I think
I'm wrong a lot. So.
I think the Chargers win though. I think the AFC is the chaotic division here, and it sets up a Colts at Chargers AFC Championship in that Cracker Jack box of a stadium. That's just my guess. I mean, I'm not gonna keep it a secret. I'm rooting for the Colts to win the AFC because can't stand New England, definitely can't stand the Chargers, and definitely can't stand Chiefs. So. But I'm pulling for the NFC representative, whoever that is. And then, of course, we got the night game or the later game on Sunday sees the Eagles go to New Orleans. The last time these two met was in 2013. The Saints gave Nick Foles his only playoff loss as Nick Foles and the Eagles found a way to survive yesterday over the Bears. 16-15 thanks to a tipped at the line miss by
doink.
Cody Parkey, double doink off the upright, off the crossbar. Great season by the Bears, but nothing to show for it besides the NFC North Championship. But
I enjoyed it.
But Bears fans, you got a bright future, I think, ahead of you. I think you're ahead of schedule, but it still probably doesn't take that bitter taste out of your mouth.
I will go on record right now. I've said that like 4 times tonight. I think Bears 2019 season resembles the Jacksonville Jaguars a lot. I think they kind of fall back to earth this upcoming season. I do say Mitch Trubisky is 1,000 times better than Blake Bortles. They have a better defense, better run game, so it probably doesn't happen. But just to piss Bears
better
fans, much better coach.
Except I will say this. I think Nagy's done a great job and should be in consideration with Frank Reich for Coach of the Year. But for this offensive genius, their offense didn't play that great against a defense that struggled at times.
Yeah.
I did not like the 2-point conversion try. Got way too cute.
Mm-hmm.
Put Khalil Mack out there. The defense didn't fall for it at all. I mean, just run your favorite goal line play there like the Eagles did. The Eagles on 4th down when they took the lead with Foles throwing the Tate, which I was talking to you before we recorded this. There was no doubt in either of our minds that they were scoring there. They ran their favorite 2-point play. Nick Foles knew they were going to come with the blitz, so he moved the pocket, found Golden, perfect throw. In the legend of St. Nick grows.
From what I've just seen on Twitter throughout the whole season, just following a bunch of Chicago media guys, they always talk about how Matt Nagy tries to get a little too cute. About 3 or 4 times a game, he does something like, why not just do something normal? And you would have had a first down there. It ended up costing them.
Yep. Who do you like, Saints or Eagles?
What's the spread on that one?
7.5.
That's a big spread for a postseason game. I think Saints win. I think they cover. I think Nick Foles' luck runs out.
Yeah, this is good. If he can get past this one, the Eagles are making the Super Bowl and might win the whole darn thing. This is a tough place to play. The Saints rarely lose at home, especially in the playoffs. I think Drew Brees and company have a big day after, coming off a bye. And I think Dennis Allen runs a really underrated defense, especially at home. I think the Saints get it done, and we see a Saints-Rams matchup the following week. But I went 1 for 3. I went 1 for 3 on my predictions last week. Cowboys are the only one I got right.
I'll probably go 1 and 3 again, and I hope the one I get right is the Chiefs beating the Colts.
I find it funny how much you hate the Colts. Like I don't like them.
And I moved back.
I don't like them by any means, but I don't despise them as much as I do. Of course, the teams in my division, or the Broncos division, like the Chargers and the Chiefs, but don't have to worry about the Raiders. A couple other notes I wanted to mention, or I wanted to ask you a question real quick. I want to get your opinion on this before we wrap this up. Say Nick Foles makes a Super Bowl. I'm not going to say he wins it, but makes it. What do you do if you're the GM of the Eagles?
No, we've had this question, or we've talked about this quite a bit.
But I come up with a new option, what I'd do.
And I've always said, got to roll with Carson Wentz. He's 26 years old. Foles is turning
29.
30. He's turning 30 in, I think, February. I'd roll with Carson Wentz. But now looking at it, Carson Wentz has had a major knee injury, major back injury, and they did not play well with him this year. It's an interesting question. I still would probably roll with Carson Wentz just because I think he's safer. I mean, Nick Foles has had his shot at being a starter and went really poorly, and I think he relishes in this backup kind of role. And
he fits their offense perfectly, but he didn't. He
played bad yesterday, and they still won. I mean, he threw a terrible interception in the end zone. He did not play great.
I mean, and that's the thing about the Bear fans getting on Parkey. Parkey saved him in the first half, making field goals. And when your defense only gives up 15 points, your offense should be able to score that many and win the game. And Trubisky played pretty well for most of the game, and you still can't get in the end zone. So, yes, you want your kicker to make a 43-yarder, but it's not all on his fault. Mm-hmm. I mean, my gosh, he shouldn't have been in that position anyways. But, anyways, back to Foles. Yeah, I would love John Elway to make a call on either one of them. If they decide they want Foles,
how did I know?
Mortgage the farm. Mortgage everybody for Wentz.
Broncos would be involved in this discussion.
Because you should know me better, but you know me well enough by now. But in Foles, I mean, that's not going to happen. I'd take him over Case Keenum. But here's the interesting thing the GM of the Eagles could do. He could franchise Foles for $20 million and then trade him.
As long as they get somebody else to pay that money.
But if they let him walk to free agency, which I think they will, 3 teams off the top of my head that I believe will be interested in him were the Washington Redskins, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and your Miami Dolphins.
No shot.
I don't understand why you're coming at the no shot thing. Please, dude, no, educate me. I'm serious. I'm not being a douche. I'm just wondering.
Well, you're always a douche.
I'm just wondering. Thank you.
But they're going to, from the sounds of it, they're going to tear it down. Stephen Ross almost said as much in the press conference he had after firing Adam Gase.
There's no great young quarterbacks to go get.
That's why you start Osweiler, go 3-13, and draft Tua Tagovailoa. They can re-sign him for a 1-year deal. No one's going to pick him up.
Unless they just decide to roll with Tannehill again.
That'd be a colossal mistake.
That's what my dad thinks Denver's got to get.
Nick Foles, Ryan Tannehill is far better than Case Keenum. I'll say that.
I think they're about
right now.
Equal. Not even Tannehill's more athletic
to being equal.
I think they're about equal.
Ryan Tannehill is far better than Case Keenum. Not even close. I mean, you put Ryan Tannehill on this Denver Bronco roster, they probably go 9-7 and not 6-10. Still mediocre.
5-game difference.
3-game difference. 3-win difference.
3-win difference. Yeah.
But anyway,
you watch him more than me, so
Foles will be put on this Dolphins roster, and they would go 6-10, 7-9, like they always have. They're not going to roll that way.
Okay, all right. Who's going to be the next head coach?
I think it's going to be Brian Flores, the New England Patriot. He's their linebacker coach. But
defensive coordinator?
he calls the defensive plays, but he does not have the defensive coordinator title.
I thought he did.
Even though he's doing the exact same job Matt Patricia did last year, they, for whatever reason, have not given him that title.
Good job, Bill.
It's something probably Belichick wants
Good job,
to
Bill.
tame his ego.
Yeah, I think it sounds like the Broncos are down to Mike Munchak or Vic Fangio, who they met with today, and Elway's pushed his flight back to have dinner with them tonight. So
Matt LaFleur was hired by the Green Bay Packers.
And I want Fangio to piss Bear fans off even more.
There's not an L in his last name.
Did I say Fangio? I meant Fangio.
You've said it twice.
Fangio.
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 There's something wrong with the phalange.
Yeah, it's been a long day. So, all right, Birdie Bogey one more time. We'll wrap this thing
North
up.
Dakota State has won 7 FCS titles in the past 8 years. Overall of pro and college sports, only 2 teams have won 7 titles in 8 seasons. Can you name both of them?
7 titles in 8 seasons.
Yes, sir.
Pro and college sports.
Pro and college sports.
UCLA.
UCLA is one.
And Boston Celtics.
Boston Celtics is the other one.
Birdie. Woohoo. Woohoo. Why don't you wrap this up, Jay, or give us a little spiel, J-Man, of where everybody listening can subscribe, can like, can listen, all that.
Yeah, thanks for listening to episode 112 of the Tan and J-Man Show. We are streaming on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and now Spotify. You can catch us on Spotify. They finally...
they lowered their restrictions a little bit. Let all
us into the
podcasters
club.
come in. Last year they denied us, so we're in like Flynn.
Check out our YouTube channel.
It's up to date until today's episode, of course. You can subscribe and listen to our podcast there. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And normally we go out with a little closing time tune, but this week in honor of Coach Hooker, we're going to go out with what I presume has to be one of his favorite songs, the Rochester Fight song. So once again, rest in peace, Coach Hooker. We'll miss you.